Yes, starting recording. Then Yuliya, you
Okay,
can start.
thank you. So, hello, dear friends. Happy to welcome you today on Mod Talk, the only tester on the project. And let's begin. So, here you can see some information about your speaker. My name is Yuliya, and I'm a software testing engineer with 1.5 years of experience in manual and automated testing, and I used to be a solo tester. On next slide, you can see our agenda. On intro, I'll briefly tell about my experience as a solo tester, some problems which I faced too, and how I minimized them. Then we go to the main tricks, which were quite helpful, and I use them by myself. After that, we will discuss what is bad practice to do and why it can be harmful for the project. In the end, I will show my small investigation, some advice I have collected among my colleagues, and the part with the questions, which I'm excited to answer. One more disclaimer, if you have any questions, please leave them in the chat. Do not use your voice. I have an idea. Let's find out how many of you are solo testers already. So I will show you a link. Here we have a Mentimeter. You need to go to the link. So Gerhard, I guess we need a link in the chat. So you need to go to menti.com and use the code, which you see on the screen, and choose the answer. Are you a solo tester? Yes, that's me. No, I'm not, or I'm a duck. Please go to the link, use the code, and yeah, that's me. Cool. I'll give you some minutes to answer for all of you. Somebody is a duck here. Cool. Wow. Okay, cool. So let's see our results. So 71% of today's guests, they are not sole testers. 28% they are sole testers, and somebody is a dog. Okay, that's so cool. Thank you. Let's move to our talk presentation. So, okay, let's imagine a situation. You were given a project and there is a small team, yeah? 4 developers, 1 project manager, and a UX designer, and you, the only QA. The process of testing is not set at all. The whole team hardly ever has understanding of QA's responsibilities. Quite common situation, isn't it? And sometimes QA might feel scared a bit, especially when the project is long lasting or there is a gap in communication between members of the team. You can become overwhelmed with tasks and documentation, or even unhappy from stakeholders when they call you at night because they want to know about the quality and they start asking you questions like, what about my project? What about my product? I had such experience. Trust me, I had a project functionality of which was quite complicated and new features were adding constantly. And I was completely lost for the first time. I had failures, I can admit it, and was near to burnout, had overtimes, and took not my work responsibilities. My team didn't take me seriously, and it led to release delays and, as a consequence, to money loss. And what I just said, that we could not continue working, and started to use tips and tricks in order to improve teamwork and testing processes. But before we dive into tips, I would like to know your opinion. What are the main tips and tricks can be used when there is only one tester on the project? So again, let's move to our presentation here. Again, go to menti.com and use this code and write down your ideas, short, like no more than 3 or 5 words. What do you think? What can you use when you are the only tester? What can be very useful in your opinion? Use this link, use this code, and give me your answers. Then I will choose the best ones and we will discuss them. Okay, I see the answers. That's so cool. Okay, more. I need more. Cool. Okay. Send me more answers. I like this one. Ask a pay raise. Okay, that's so cool. I agree with this one. Don't panic. Panic won't help you. Be proactive and keep asking questions. Cool. Use documentations. What if you don't have any? Self-study. Yeah, it's important. Delegate. Prioritize. Cool. And again, prioritize tasks. Devs write automated tests as well as when needed. Okay, interesting. Ask other SOA testers about some solutions. That's good one, good point. Communicate with BA. Yeah, communication. We will talk about later. Have conversation with devs. Okay. Maybe set some clear rules that will make things easier for both parties. Yo. Set a plan strategy. Cool. More communication. Yeah, you see, a lot of people left the answer about communication. Educate developers be able to write proper tests. Whoa, nice idea. Ask other about some solution. Okay, I've read it already. Estimate with reserve. Estimation, yeah, we'll talk about it later. So, okay, thank you. We've done here. I have read some of your questions. Some of your answers, and they are quite reasonable. And here you can see my suggestions. So I briefly explain each tip and afterwards we will discuss them in detail. So tip number 1, questions. Yeah, do not hesitate to ask your team about the project. Why? Yeah, when you are on a new project, the first thing to do is to ask questions, and some of you answer it the same. Yeah, about the project, you need to ask about the team roles, responsibilities, about end users, and so on and so forth. Self-organization. So here, keep all your documentation up to date. Yeah, so self-organization is a key to balance. Planning will help you with daily tasks and how to prevent burnout. So planning is tip number 1 when you're the only one. Knowing your limits. It's important to know when to say no. You cannot do it all. Yeah, you cannot be a superhero and do everything by yourself. No one should expect you to either. If you ever find yourself drawing in tasks and can't handle it, it's okay to seek other ways to deal with it. Number 4, get strategy. Be strategic about your testing time. This tip is about controlling and planning tasks and time, building a strategy which can help you organize the process and can be beneficial for the project. So here I will give you example of my strategy, which I worked out when I was on the project alone. Tip number 5, share the responsibility. You're not alone, you're working in team. Remember that even if you're the only one in the QA department, you're still working in a team. And once the rest of your team knows your role and abilities, you can leverage that into seeking their help. And I will tell you about a couple of ways how can you do this, and depending on their roles and desire to help. Understanding your role. Explain that you're also a key member of the team. Here we will discuss how to help your team understand your role, how to help them understand that you don't just write tests and just type in something. You're working, and you're working for the project to make it better for your client. Let's go to the tip. So questions. Yeah, why asking questions can save your life when you are the only one from QA team. So the first thing to do is to ask questions, and it will encourage clarity. You will understand what kind of project you're testing, and it will prepare you for further work. You can think about the risks and you can plan them. So what questions you can ask, like how big is the team? Yeah, what is each other's responsibility? How to reach everyone if I have a question? Yeah, for example, which messenger to use? Maybe we can choose one for every team and not to use different ones, yeah, to make communication between team members faster and more efficient. What is the type of our product? Yeah, what are the most important aspects of your product? What areas in the product are widely used by customers? What is customers' business goal? Finally, who are the end users and who are representing the clients? And finally, what is my role? Yeah, what do you expect me to do on this? The tip number 2, that is self-organization. And I like mainly everything about self-organization. When you're working alone, it's recommended to set clear priorities, right? And here what you can use. Planning, yeah? It's number 1. Planning. Build a working schedule for the whole week. Think what are you going to do today? What are you going to do tomorrow? And just write all your plans for the work week. Keep your project documentation in one place. It's important, right? Because when I had the very first project, I didn't follow this rule. Actually, I didn't keep my project documentation in my place. I had bug reports in one folder. I had test cases in another folder. And in the end, when I needed to find all the bug report or all test case, it was like a century looking through all this stuff. And that's why it's better to use maybe some testing tool where you can keep where you can organize all your documentation, or your test plans, or your test strategies, reports, whatever. And remember that test processes should be defined, yeah, and documented. And good documentation is a tool that builds efficient communication within the software team. So effective planning entails creation of quality and test plans for a project. Let's move on. Know your limits. So here it's easy to overestimate yourself in order to show your effectiveness when you're working alone. And like you want to show yourself like you're a superhero So find your good enough threshold, right? Everyone wants perfect software, but budget constraints, business priorities, resource capacity often make perfect an impossible goal. But if perfection isn't your goal, what is it? Yeah, recognize that goal of your testing is to mitigate risk, to not necessarily eliminate it. So your project don't need to be perfect. Remember that. It just need to support your business processes in time to leverage new opportunities without exposing companies to unnecessary or unattainable risk. So how to stop this, right? How to say no. Do not take somebody else's tasks. For example, I had such a situation when on the project, my project manager came to me and said like, oh, Yuliya, please help write documentation, yeah? Write specification of the project, all the stuff, which wasn't my job at all. And I said, no, like, it's not my job. I cannot help you here. I can help you with testing, but not with writing documentation. Ask for help. It's okay to say, like, I'm too tired during regression. For example, if you have a lot of tests to go through on regression, it's okay to say, like, please help if you can do this. For example, you can ask B, or we can ask even developers, for example, to help you with regression, of course, if they have time for that. Try to avoid overtimes. Why it's important? Because if you do overtimes all the time, it can lead to burnout. I did it myself. Don't repeat my mistakes. Do not blame only yourself. For example, if you don't have enough time for testing, don't blame only yourself. That is only your fault. No, it's the fault of the whole team, I believe. And you need to work as a team altogether. And forget about perfectionism. It's unnecessary here. Remember that less is more. Yeah, avoid activities draining your energy. Stay motivated still. And if you continue trying to be superhero, finishing all and be there for all, your health can deteriorate. So it's very important. If you get ill, you are the only tester. You can imagine the project will be without a tester, and it can lead to problems with the project itself, delay of release, and as a consequence, money loss. Nobody needs it. That's why remember that one about this one. Next tip, get strategy. So it's obvious that everything should be on time and even earlier. And there is a chance that the main goal can become just about finishing tasks rather than adding value. And what can be done? Yeah, estimation, right? So estimate testing time. It's a good point here. Test management tool, use test management tools to help you, for example, TestRail or Zephyr. Measure your productivity and progress. It's highly important here. And ask questions for yourself. Let's find out what questions you can ask and why you need this. So these questions you can ask yourself to plan accordingly in crunch time. And you can greatly reduce the risk of project releasing under less time constraint. So which questions? Find out important functionality of your project, right? Find out high risk module of the project. Which functionality is the most visible for the user? Which functionality has the largest safety impact? Which functionality has the largest financial impact on users? Which aspects of the application most important to the customer? Which parts of the code are most complex and thus most subject to error, which parts of the application were developed in rush or panic mode. This point is really interesting. I had experience when I was on a project and we needed to finish it for 3 months, but functionality was really complex and some parts of application were written by developers in rush, really. So they didn't pay attention any errors they made. So they just had some time to write it, and that's it. And I paid more attention on these parts. I wrote more test cases. I tried to cover more these parts in order to back up my colleagues and improve the quality of the application. Next question, what does a developer think are the highest risk aspects of the application? You can, so communication is really important. So you need to go to developers and discuss what do they think, because again, they know something that which you don't know. Yeah, and vice versa. So you need to go through meetings together and discuss these aspects together. What kinds of problems would cause the worst publicity? What kinds of problems would cause the most customer service complaints? So you need to develop like your mindset, like what can be wrong. You need to prevent them, these problems in advance. What kind of test could easily cover multiple functionalities? So all these questions are highly important and you can use them in order to work on your testing process strategy. And also be sure not to get into classic conundrum of velocity versus quality. Because when you report, let's say, 50 bucks a day, it might appear as if you're being super productive, right? Come on, 50 bucks, yeah. But if most of them are coming back as invalid ones, you have got yourself a problem. So less is more, remember? And I will tell you like example of the testing process strategy which I used on one of my projects. So we worked on Agile and we had sprints, yeah, Scrum. At the beginning of the sprint, I created 2 test plans. I called them Sprint 1U and Sprint 1 regression. So it's easy, yeah, I understand that one will be for features and one will be for regression. So I took the tasks for testing and made checklists, first of all. For example, we used, at that time we used Excel. Yeah, it's not a good tool, but still used for many projects. The good point about Excel, it's available to any team member. Developers can watch it and suggest some checks, right? Or learn something themselves. Then I followed my checklist, performed checks. When the task was tested, I wrote test cases for the key functionality for this task, included them in the sprint 1U test plan, right? It can be 1 to 5 tests, no more. Although there are, of course, everywhere are exceptions. For example, if I had a task about changing the color of the button, I didn't write like a test case. It was like lack of time, and I thought that it was like useless. I put that check into checklists. The tester next me updated the documentation if there were any changes in the task. For example, integration with any other system. At the end of the sprint, test cases were accumulated for all problems caused in the sprint. Then these were copied into general regression test plan, which was formed for the previous sprints, right? And the general regression test plan was copied into the sprint one sprint regression test plan. This is like necessary to say if regression runs for individual sprints. Remember, keep your documentation. Then test cases were removed from regression for parts of the application that had not changed in the current sprint. So if the composition of the team is limited, which I had in my case, then non-priority cases were also deleted. What about auto tests, right? They were launched and as a result was automatically assigned to manual test cases. Then the results of the failed auto test were analyzed. I wrote the report of that. In the course of regression, small bugs were fixed, during regression process. After the regression, there was installation of preprod plus smoke testing, and then installation on a prod. And auto tests were added like whenever possible. Remember, you need to automate some test cases, right? But you cannot do it for every feature. Yeah, it's not possible to automate everything. Okay. Next tip, share the responsibility. So here I have a nice picture actually of two pandas. Yeah, why you can rely on your colleagues. Once the rest of the team knows your own abilities, you can leverage that into seeking their help. Yeah, as I said before. So you need to ask for help because you're not here. You can get help from dev team inviting automated tests. For example, if you're only a manual tester, you can go to dev team and tell them like, please help me on regression. Please write some tests for this features. And then you can control the results, you can report the results and understand the situation of the project upon them. And then you can get help from the whole team in regression testing or smoke testing, for example, if there are too many tickets. You can ask team to report bugs or issues if they notice anything. For example, if developers go through unit tests, or if developers see something is wrong in the project and they understand that it's a bug, so they can report these bugs in your system. And the last one here, ask for a consultant or one more tester in your team. Of course, if your project can afford it, you can go to the manager and tell that I have a problem, I don't have enough time, I need a tester, please help. Or just for a consultant, for example, if you don't know anything, you can ask for a consultant. And remember that communication with the rest of the team is the key. Here. And also, you need to remember that non-technical people are surprisingly great at smoking out obscure bugs. I had a situation when I had a project and there was a UX designer and she decided to go through user case and see how does the system look like, and she found some bugs. Yeah, it was her like moment. Okay. Tip 6, understanding your role. Yeah. So you need to explain your team that you matter, that you do your job the best way you can. And for example, in my situation, some of my team members, they didn't understand why should they trust me. I'm just a tester. I'm just typing something, just clicking on buttons, and that's it, all my job. But then I decided to explain them, to show them, right, what actually my job is. So I needed to ensure that I integrate, yeah, with the rest of the team and become an integral part of the group. So you need to make yourself visible. And how can you do this? So there are three ways, right? First of all, be an active participant of work meetings. Don't be afraid of speaking up, because if you no one has your back, voice your opinions and help others along the way. For example, if you have some refinements, yeah, work meetings, you need to um, say your opinion. Um, if you look through some tasks in backlog, you need to explain what to take now, how will it influence on the project, and so on and so forth. Next, work alongside other team members. If they don't do the same work you do, everyone benefits when knowledge is shared. Um, yeah, it's a great way. Set up pair programming sessions with coworkers or explain them what you do. Okay, teach them what you do and learn what they do. So exchange your experience, right? Developers can teach you, you can teach developers, and it will positively influence on the project. And last but not least, be part of after work team outings, right? Going out to lunch and drinks. Actually, for now, it's not applicable because of pandemia, right? And it's very sad. But still, you can use some tools. You can use Skype, meetings. You can use Teams if you use Teams, right? Team buildings. You can play games. You can make pajama parties, like I did with my team. You can do tea parties, whatsoever. Again, if you communicate more with your team, you understand each other more. You learn to understand each other more, and it will positively, again, positive impact on the project. And remember that you're working in a team, and when you're working in a team, it means communication. Okay, so here are my tips. Let's discuss some don'ts. Okay, some don'ts. What is not recommended to do as a solo tester on the project, which I learned from my experience. Yeah, they can affect on your project. So don't stop documenting and reporting anything. So actually, I had such experience. I had lots of tasks. I had regression, as I said, the time, and I can say that I stopped documenting and reporting anything because I didn't have time. And after a while, a stakeholder said, like, I want to look through these documents, right? Show me test cases, show me test result reports, show me bug reports. I want to see a job, the the documents, like documenting results, right, of your experience on this. And I spent a whole night writing everything, trying to remember what did I do, what bugs did I report, and it was a nightmare. Don't repeat my mistakes, please. Don't stop documenting and reporting. Always write documentation and keep it one place. Next, don't forget to store or work in chats. Yeah, it's also a useful tip here. You need to store all working chats because one day this person can leave the project, and then you need to prove anything, and you won't do this because the chat is gone. The person left, and you cannot prove anything. Don't hide information For example, if you found a bug and you think that this bug is not important, like, come on, it's a minor bug, right? Nobody gonna know, yeah? Nobody gonna know. They gonna know, okay? So it's really important to show everything you find, even before release, uh, even before that one. Again, think about the project, think about your team. Don't track all defects in different places. Again, I put all my defects which I found in different places, in different folders. It was a chaos. Again, not a good idea, actually. Keep it in one place. Think about one tool. Um, for example, you can use Jira for reporting bugs. Don't stop developing. It's a good point here, because when you become the solo tester and you think, okay, I'm kind of QA lead, right? I don't have other testers. I'm main person here. I can do whatever I want. I can stop developing. Why do I need this? It's a trap. When you stop developing, you will not get more ideas for improving testing processes. You stop thinking about project. Yeah, that's why continue developing, learn something, read something, maybe find a course online. There are lots of different online courses which are absolutely free about testing. Use YouTube, okay? Don't forget to sort information. It's important too. Don't take your job, not your job. As I said before, when a developer comes to you and say like, please write this part of application, say no, it's not your job. Do only what comes, what only about your job, like writing testing documentation, testing itself, providing demo, yeah, showing the tested part of the application. And last, don't be afraid of developers. Okay, so they are not your enemies. They do not will not kill you for questions, right? But remember, first of all, we Google, and then we go to our developer to find out the answers. Okay, so here, when I was making this tech talk, I decided to provide a small investigation and ask my colleagues for some tips. They know when they were, or they still are, solo testers, and here we have our results. So Arina Davidova said, organize your time, tasks, use planning, as I said before. Share your thoughts openly. Yeah, tell the truth. Do not hide any information. Communicate with the team. Listen to others. Make decisions together that will be better for the project, for sure. You need to communicate with the team. You need to discuss all decisions you take together. And because, again, you work in a team, you're not alone, it will be better for the project. Olga Stetzer, she said like about multitasking, but also it's a trap. Sometimes multitasking doesn't work at all. For example, when I said when I had 5 projects at the same time, can you imagine 5? Multitasking didn't work at all. But when you have like 1 project, 2 projects, it's okay. Yeah, multitasking can work. Investigate. I think here she meant like investigate your product. Yeah, you need to investigate. You need to understand your product more in order to make testing processes better. You need to investigate new knowledges. I think you need to use new techniques, new approaches. For example, you read about something and then next time you use it on your project and see the result of it. Bigul Minasipova, she said that you need to have high level of self-organization, your time management should be high, and you need to prioritize tasks, and you need also have desire to improve documentation, processes, communication, right? So it's you always try to rise, you always try to develop yourself, and it's even more important when you're alone rather than in a team, in QA team. Okay, and so here we have some don'ts from my colleagues. So Yulia Morozova, she said it's not good to have vacation for more than 1 week. Why, right? Why? I need a rest. So actually imagine a situation, you are the only one, nobody can do this job except you. So you take a vacation for 2 weeks. Oh my gosh, it will impact on the project. Your developers will die under this bugs and tasks and nobody could help them. So that's why do not take long vacations. Also, it's not good to not to ask for help while regression testing. As I said before, try to integrate all people, involve all people in regression testing. Kirill Kiriv, don't take more than you can complete. As I said before, don't um, don't use position of superhero. If you feel overwhelmed, just tell it to your team, like, guys, really, I'm overwhelmed. One more task and I have a burnout. That's why I need help. Next one, don't choose methods and approaches on your own. It should be discussed, right? Again, if you choose a method and approach by yourself, then your team come to you and said, like, why you didn't tell us, right? We need to know as well. Again, teamwork. Don't forget about testing documentation. Also, even if you're alone, even if you have position like I'm alone, I'm a key lead, I can do whatever I want. No, you cannot. You need to use testing documentation. You need to keep it in one place because rest of your team can ask for it, stakeholder can ask for it. And again, it will be a great help from documentation if you forgot something, if you need to remind anything about bugs, or for example, you had the same bug as before and you need to find the bug report of it. That's why you need to remember about that one. Okay. And here we are. So I'm ready for your questions. Really excited for that. So Gauhar will help me.
Yes, Yulia, we have questions from yesterday from Portal. Could you please answer for it? The first question was, if you are an only tester on the project, how should you decide what and how to automate, especially if that is a legacy project with minimal test coverage, with mostly manual steps?
Wow, that's an interesting question. Yeah. Um, Actually, when we have a legacy project, there are, of course, a couple of factors, right? If the legacy does not change, right? The code is old enough and then the bugs will definitely not be fixed there, right? And I would not waste time on any automated tests at all, right? As on page said. In other cases, tests will probably still be needed. But again, it depends on the project, on the situation, right? And you need to see how all code is. Maybe maybe first of all, you need to start with some analysis, right? To determine first the major functional areas of the application, how much use they receive, then we need to repeat that analysis for subsections within the major area. So first of all, I think that analysis should be provided, right? Again, and what to automate, again, you cannot automate everything. So first of all, some repetitive tasks, right? For example, login, logout. For regression, it's very useful to automate. Okay. I hope I
Okay.
answer it.
Okay, thank you. So the next question is it is difficult if you are only one tester in the project. You will have a lot of challenges to face and the testing wouldn't be done properly because one person has his own way of testing approach, which might be correct or not.
Okay, that's a great opinion. I do not agree, I don't think that testing will not be proper. If you use a high level of self-organization of you, when you organize your documentation, when you set your testing process, testing will be proper. Another question for the different people use different approaches, right? So here, actually, we have some standards, right? We have some standards of testing, and I guess we need to follow them, and then testing will be great. Next.
Okay, thank you. Um, so the next question, if you get on the project as a solo tester again, what would you change in your testing planning process?
Great question too. I will change my strategy a bit. I will put more effort on writing useful test cases which I can reuse. Yeah. Okay. I will pay more attention on communication with my team. I will definitely ask them to automate anything, some test cases, right, to help myself, right. I will definitely think about okay, interesting question, right. I will definitely think about let's say what other question I need to answer before I step in this project. Maybe I will ask for more days in order to write more risks what I can face with before I start this project. Something like this.
Okay, thank you. Then, is there a possibility to reach a promotion if you are the only QA? If yes, how?
Good. So if you're the only QA, you're supposed to be a QA leader, and okay, you need the promotion, right? First of all, you can ask us for a mentee, right? For another tester, for junior tester, and start building your QA team on the project in order to get a high position. Or you can combine manual and automated testing and beyond this kind of border, and again it will be promotion, right. Or you can as well as in other projects or other IT companies, you can become a project manager, you can become a developer in the end. So the promotion will be the same as in basic projects.
Okay, thank you. There is in the chat, Karina, she doesn't agree about long vacation.
Mhm.
You always need to split work and the rest, and some of our colleagues are agree with her. So,
Okay, yeah, yeah. I like this point as well. Yeah. So again, it depends on your team. It depends on your project. It depends on the tasks you have. For example, if you don't have much tasks or you've done most of them, you can ask for a long vacation. But if your application is rising constantly and you're getting new features more often, um, then it can be a problem. But still, you need to discuss everything with your team. You cannot decide by yourself, like, tomorrow I have a vacation for 1 month, bye bye. No.
okay, thank you. Xiamen, he asked, how long have had you been working on the project as the only tester, and have you ever wanted to change the project right because of this reason?
Cool question. Thank you so much for your questions. Um, yeah, I worked for, let's say, I had been working, right, for 1 year and 3 months as a solo tester. And could you repeat the last part?
Um, and have you ever wanted to change
Uh-huh.
the project right because of this reason?
Yeah,
Because
thank you.
you, yeah,
Hmm.
solo tester.
Got it. No,
Hmm.
no, absolutely no. Of course, I felt kind of scared. I felt like I had lots of um, responsibilities and for the for the product, but still I didn't want to refuse because of that one. No, I accepted this challenge, and I'm kind of person who likes challenging tasks.
Okay, thank you, Yulia. And the next question from Ekaterina. She asks, what would you recommend as a documentation, use test cases or checklists for your team if there is a lack of time for testing?
Mm-hmm. So if you have a lack of time, mostly it will be better to have a combination of checklists and test cases. So what do I mean? For example, if you have minor features, you need to use checklists here. But if this feature are major and they have impact on other parts of application, use test cases.
Okay, thank you. The next question is from Eugene. Oh, sorry. Are there any metrics to define how many testers you need on the project?
Yeah, of course, there are some metrics, but unfortunately, I cannot show them now, but you can Google them.
Okay. Thank you. Xiamen, he asked, is the project where the only tester works good for self-improvement and studying the QA more deeply, or it is not a good option to grow up?
Actually, it's a really fast way to develop yourself as a tester. But I did it wrong, really. I started from practice rather from the theory. I just had it like hello, I'm tester. Okay, tester, go and test, right? And I went and tested, like monkey testing. It was my very first project, and I couldn't understand that I did something wrong. And that's why it's better to start from combining theory with practice in order to do your work correctly. Yeah, that's why it's a great start. Yeah, but now I need to change like some of my approaches to to show, like, to have a better understanding of testing processes. And also it helped me to get knowledge not only for manual testing but automated as well, because when you only tester, you have some projects where you automated testers needed, and they can tell you like learn, go and write testing scripts, and you need to learn, you need to study.
Okay, thank you. Mikhail, he said that men, from my personal experience, it's absolutely not. Of course, everything depends on the project and the
Mhm.
people. But in my case, while being the only QA for about 15 devs, it was impossible.
Okay,
And
yeah. Uh-huh. Sorry.
yes, you can comment
Uh-huh.
if
Yeah,
you want.
so I understood his position, right? Yeah, again, it depends on the project. Yeah, I gave you just some basic tips and tricks which can help you when you're just when you start working as a solo tester, and they already can help you, because when I started working as a solo tester, I didn't know anything, and I didn't know any tips and tricks, and um, I uh, went to them too long, and again it had impact on the project, like consistency.
Okay, the last question is from Alona. She asked, have you mostly used automation or manual testing while being the only tester at the projects?
Yeah. First, like the first project, I used only manual testing because I was trying to understand the main like idea of testing, and while I was reading Kulikov, yeah, I was testing the project. And then I had next project, and there they needed automated tester. Actually, um, they couldn't afford another person. They couldn't afford like automated tester. That's why my manager came to me and said like, um, you needed like a full stack tester, right? To accomplish like manual tester and automated tester testing as well. That's why, can you do this? And I was like, why not, right? Why not? It's a great point to develop myself, to develop my skills, to become better. And I said yes. And some developers, they taught me how to automate, and I started to write my first scripts. Of course, they were awful, but still they worked. And for now, I have this skill, and it's pretty useful.
Okay, thank you. Evgen, he also um, suggests to better to combine and automation for
Mhm.
regression and the manual for confirmation testing also.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, agree. Totally agree.
Okay,
Okay.
that
Thank you
was
for.
the last
Uh-huh. Thank you
question.
for your questions. Right. Yeah. Thank you. But do not go away. I have a great news for you. The QA Community Kazakhstan team invites you to take part in the test competition 2021. It will take place online on November 27. Within 3 hours, teams of participants will have the task of testing the application of their choice and finding the largest numbers of errors, registering them, and sending them for analysis. The team with the most defects wins. Gather a team and register. But if you want to test your strengths in a single race, right, to uh, understand how to be a solo tester, it's not a problem. You can take part solo. More information as well as a link to register can be found in the EPAM profile header. See you on November 27. And the last but not least, I want you to see the this slide. I would like to announce next talk, which will be held on the 23rd of December. In this talk, my colleague Roman Soyezov will tell about meeting docs as code, like Yoseva from the documentation help. He's going to explain how to transform your approach of end users documentation creation. In the end of the session, you will be aware of what is docs as code and how to build a complex solution for that. Thank you for your attention and see you next time. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thanks a lot.